A young man gets married and 3 months later his wife tells him, "Honey, it's time to give birth." He, completely shocked, replies, "What do you mean? We've only been married 3 months." She explains calmly, "You lived with me 3 months before the wedding, 3 months after, and 3 times 3 is 9. Time passes. She calls him from the maternity ward, saying that the baby came out very dark-skinned. He asks how that's possible, and she says that on the way to the hospital, they cross paths with a black cat. The young man, puzzled, runs to his parents' house and tells his dad 3 times 3 is 9, and on top of it, the black cat. Can you believe? The dad, after hearing all that, turned to his wife and yelled, "Mom, do you remember if when I took you to the maternity ward, we crossed paths with a donkey on the way?" A mom is riding in a taxi with her little son in the back seat. The kid is chatting to himself out loud. "If dad were an elephant and mom were an elephant too, I'd be a little elephant. If dad were a wolf and mom were a she-wolf, I'd be a little wolf cub." The taxi driver, fed up with hearing all that, turns his head around and asks, "And what if your dad were a donkey and your mom a goat? What would you be?" Without missing a beat, the kid replied, "A taxi driver." My neighbor just called me, completely panicked, and said, "Dude, I just saw your wife walking into a motel." I replied calmly, "Impossible. My wife is sitting right here next to me." And then added casually, "Yours, however, borrowed her car this morning." A somewhat unhinged patient walks into the psychiatrist's office. The doctor, calm as ever, gently asks him to settle down and says, "Tell me about your issue from the very beginning." "Well then, doctor, in the beginning I created the heavens and the earth." Two flamboyant friends step into the elevator together. One stops in the corner, scrunches her face up, and snaps, "Honey, what is that smell of semen? Did you fart?" The other, without flinching, replied, "No, I burped." Two flamboyant friends step into the elevator together. One stops in the corner, scrunches her face up, and snaps, "Honey, what is that smell of semen? Did you fart?" The other, without flinching, replied, "No, I burped." Two friends bump into each other. One says, "Hey, I heard you got married." The other replies, "Yeah, but my wife is incredibly demanding. She keeps asking me for money. Yesterday, it was $200. Today, $500. And what does she do with all that money?" He's shrugging. "No idea. I've never given her any." Last Saturday, I went to a wedding at the city hall. When the officiant said, "If anyone objects to this union, speak now or forever hold your peace," a pregnant woman stood up and began walking slowly down the aisle, holding hands with a 3-year-old child. The groom started sweating buckets. The bride fainted. Every heart in the room stopped. When she finally reached the officiant, the woman said, "It's just that from the back I can't hear very well." A wife goes to visit her husband in prison. He, annoyed, snaps at her, "Why did you take so long to come see me?" She answers calmly, "I went to talk to the warden to ask him to reduce your sentence by at least a year since you got 25. The husband, surprised, "And what happened?" She, without losing her smile, "Every time I went, he made me indecent propositions." The husband loses it. "And what did you do?" She looks away. "What did I do?" "Pack your stuff. We are going home." 100 women arrive in heaven, and God, arms crossed, announces, "Whoever has secretly snooped through her husband's phone, step closer." 99 step forward right away. Only one stays where she is. God looks at her and sighs. Bring the deaf one too. The wife, furious, calls her husband. Hey, you bum! You cheat! You slacker! Where the heck have you been? The husband, totally calm, responds. Hi, babe. Sorry for not calling earlier. Chew, still raging. I want to know right now where you are. He, without losing his cool. Remember that jewelry store where you saw that beautiful diamond ring you love so much? The wife melts instantly. Yes, sweetheart. Love of my life, the husband says, without missing a beat. Yeah, well, I'm at the bar next door. At the park, little Johnny tugs at his mom's shirt, stretches out his tiny hand and asks, Mom, can you give me some money to give to an old man? The mom, completely moved by the gesture, pulls cash out of her purse, hands it over and asks tenderly, And which old man are you going to give it to, my little angel? That one over there yelling, Get your hot popcorn! The guy comes home after a long day at work and tells his wife, plainly, Honey, I invited a friend over for dinner with us tonight. The wife loses it instantly. What? The house is a mess. I did not shop. I did not cook anything. And I am not going to cook. The husband, totally calm, responds, I know. She, even more furious, snaps back. Then why did you invite him? Because the poor guy is thinking about getting married. A man and a woman, lovers, are in bed together. Suddenly her phone rings. She answers in the calmest voice in the world. Don't worry, of course I understand. Thank you for letting me know. The man, curious, looks at her and asks, Who was that? My husband. He said he will be late because he is having dinner with you. An elderly lady goes to the doctor and vents. Doctor, I have a problem with gas, but it really doesn't bother me. They don't smell and they are always silent. Since I walked into your office, I've passed at least 20. I bet you didn't notice or smell a thing. The doctor, unfazed, prescribes, Take this medicine 3 times a day and come back next week. Days later, the lady returns, indignant. Doctor, I don't know what you gave me. But now my gases, although still silent, smell terribly. The doctor, with a slight smile, gives his verdict. Now that we cured your sinusitis, we will treat your deafness. After meeting at a wild party, a couple wakes up the next morning in a motel room. Smitten, he looks at her and says, all cheerful, That was a wonderful night. I bet you are a veterinarian. She, intrigued, replies, How did you guess? Because you took such good care of my little pet. She, now with a disappointed look, fires right back. Well, I bet you are a politician. He, curious, asked, How did you figure that out? Because most of the time, you were on the bottom, complaining the whole way. And when you finally got on top, you had no idea what to do. At the linguistics competition, the final question landed like a bomb on the contestants. The question was the following. How would you explain the difference between complete and finished? When you marry the right woman, you are complete. When you marry the wrong woman, you are finished. And when the right woman catches you with the wrong woman, you are completely finished. At the pharmacy, the little boy tugs on his mom's sleeve and points at the shelf. Mom, what are condoms for? She glances around, leans down a little, and answers in a soft voice. They are used when grown-ups make love. A moment later, the boy grabs a small box and shows it to her. Why do they come in packs of 3? She takes a deep breath, adjusts her purse, and tries to sound natural. Those are for single guys. 1 for Friday, 1 for Saturday, and one for Sunday. The boy doesn't give up and reaches for a bigger box on the upper shelf. And what about these packs with 6? She smiles awkwardly and mutters through her teeth. Those are for college boys. 2 for Friday, 2 for Saturday, and the other 2 for Sunday. Right at the checkout, the boy pulls out the giant pack and holds it up high. And what about that big pack with 12? Those are for married couples. 1 for January, 1 for February, 1 for March, and so on. In a group therapy session, the therapist looked around, adjusted his glasses, and asked a direct question to the 3 students sitting in the circle. What would you want people to say about you at your funeral? The first student answered without hesitation, full of pride, that I was a great doctor and a wonderful father. The second student took a deep breath, made a theatrical gesture with his hands, and answered with all the gravity in the world, that I was a wonderful man, an excellent father, and a teacher who shaped the future of countless children. The therapist turned to the third student, who was all scrunched up in the corner, and asked very slowly, "And you, what would you want them to say?" The third student gave a mischievous little smile and answered right away, "I would want them to say, 'Look, he's still moving!'"
Yeah.